Hi, you guys. This is your girl, Rika the Vibe, and I'm here for another video. Those of you guys who don't know me, I actually work in clinical research. So this is specifically a clinical research career video, but it's mostly a story of a mistake that I've made. One of the first mistakes that I have made actually in clinical research. So before we get to story time, I just want to let you know, go ahead and click that like button, subscribe, comment, whatever. I hate saying that, by the way, but I'm gonna say it. So anyway, story time. When I came to work, the first things that I do in the morning is to take temperature logs from the temp logger thermostat. So if you guys don't know what a temp logger is, it's basically the temperature monitors that are connected to a sensor that you place either in the refrigerator where the investigational product is, the ambient cabinet where investigational product can be, or the freezer where samples, in our case, our frozen samples go into, and we ship our samples overnight. But anyway, if you guys don't know what an investigational product is, it's anything from a drug to a device that's in a clinical trial. I work in dermatology, so we have a lot of injection IP that we use to inject our patients with who agree and consent to be a part of a clinical trial. Now, it has to be at a certain temperature for a couple of reasons. Number one, that's just how the compounds are. The certain compounds in the investigational product may not work properly for the patient if it's at a certain temperature that it's not supposed to be in. And number two, when we take the drug out, when we take the investigational product out, we have to ensure that it has been cool, or it has been at temperature for a certain period of time, so that when we take it out, it can warm up a little bit so that it won't be extremely painful when it is injected into the patient's arm or into the patient's thigh. So with this particular mistake, this error that I have made is an error that I suggest that you guys do not, if you can avoid it, please avoid making this error in clinical research. I'm a clinical research coordinator. So I work under a study manager who's actually more of a leadership position when it comes to being a clinical research coordinator. She manages multiple studies, and I help her coordinate a few of the studies of all the studies that she manages. So anyway, back to the story. I was taking temperature logs, and basically one of those days I wasn't paying attention to the range. Because I worked from home that day, the first thing that she did was email me and told me that we had a possible temperature excursion. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then she said, well, the investigational product refrigerator was 0.2 degrees under the range. So that's an excursion. And I'm here working from home that day feeling like crap, because I'm like, how dare me didn't pay attention to that? I didn't pay attention to it. That was the first and only time I didn't pay attention to temperature ranges, which are very important, especially when it comes to the IP. So the sticklers that we are, we kind of went into high alert. We didn't panic, but we went into high alert, which means that we had to do everything as quickly as possible to get this issue resolved, or to see what we need to do to move forward. When I came back to work the next day, we had to, well, first and foremost, before that, when she alerted me, the first thing I did was call our patients who were scheduled to receive that drug that was in that refrigerator and cancel their appointments. After we canceled those appointments, I had to let our sponsor know. Like, my study manager was already doing the higher up stuff, paperwork that she needed to do, and to, the communication and the correspondence that she needed to receive, to resolve this issue. But I had to do the actual canceling patient appointments. I had to alert our CRA and our sponsor, and I had to write protocol deviations for why these patients are canceled, and they will be out of window. They will be until the issue is resolved. After we contacted the sponsor, we kind of did a reevaluation of the whole situation. All of us, there were phone calls, there was paperwork, and then finally we came into the conclusion that it was not an excursion and the IP was good. And the reason being is because it was only 0.2 degrees under the minimum, and they said that we can round that to 2. So my study manager and I were so grateful that we didn't have to do all that. Now, we still had to write protocol deviations for the patients because they were still out of window. However, it was no excursion. And that is one thing that you do not want to have when you are working in clinical research, is a temperature excursion. Even if it's not your fault that the temp loggers may act crazy, because we recently just went through that as well. This situation that I'm talking about now, the story that I was talking about happened like 2 months ago, but currently we're going through some thermometer temperature logger issues right now that we're trying to resolve as well. So we also had to cancel patient visits again and write some protocol deviations. You don't want to have so many protocol deviations. I'm just telling you that. You want to prevent them as much as you can, but some things are outside of your control, and that protocol deviations are only good for covering yourself, so that you can, showing that you got to the issue before anybody else did. And then once you got to the issue, you can finally explain that issue, after you do the deviation. But anyways, so that's basically my story time. That's my error that I have made. And basically, this next part of the video, I'm just going to show you a little bit of the area where I work in clinical research as a clinical research coordinator. I'll show you a little bit of my little tiny office, our little lab that we have, my study manager's lab, and our supply area as well. The reason why I won't be showing you our IP refrigerator and our freezer is because they're kind of out of service right now, and we haven't been having patients recently to draw labs or anything to store the samples in the freezers. But anyway, you guys enjoy this little short part of the video. You'll see my lab, you'll see the office, and you'll see the supply area. All right, you guys, have a good day. And if you guys want me to make any more videos about clinical research, I will be happy to. I've been doing clinical research for 1.5 years now, so I'm technically a newbie in clinical research, but I have been working in clinical areas for 2.5 years, including clinical research. So all that put together, 2.5 years. So I can definitely make videos for you guys about clinical research. If that's what you like. This channel isn't just about clinical research, but it's partially about it. If you guys want that, please put it in the comments below. All right. Hi, you guys. Here is a visual of my lab. Me and my study managers, our lab. Basically, it's small. Here are the lab kits. We have multiple lab kits for multiple studies. I don't want you guys to know what study we have, so I'm going to cover it up lab kits. If you guys are familiar with ICON, I will say that ICON is a very popular clinical research organization that provides lab kits for studies. I personally like ICON. Let me show. I personally like ICON because ICON is their kits are really put together. They're put together so well. As a matter of fact, their lab requisitions are absolutely easy to read. Like someone who doesn't have that much phlebotomy experience, but I have had phlebotomy experience and I went to school for it. Like reading these lab requisitions are so easy. Like it's wonderful. Here's our sharps containers. What do you call it? Our I don't know why it's like I'm having a brain fart. It's not wastebasket. Our biohazard, that's what it's called, biohazard bag, which needs to be taken out, which I'm actually going to take out. And right here we make gauzes with alcohol in them, and then we also have like gauze, the gloves. Lab kits actually have the needles in them. They have the needles, the tubes for one of our studies. This is another study that has like kits that are packed in a different way. You can see it has the needles, the band-aid, the tubes. But yeah, you guys, this is our lab. And before I leave today, I'm going to actually organize it a little bit more, because by the end of the week, it's Friday, by the end of the week, our lab just kind of goes everywhere. And right here, these are actually ICON shipping boxes, our temperature logger, and more equipment over here. Like I said, we are very electronic as a site, so we actually have a lot of devices and iPads and like our e-diaries for our patients. Our patient diaries are e-diaries, so they're smartphones. We have our ECG machine, for the screening assessments, the scale, all that good stuff. And you see my office. Just a brief view. The reason why my chair is back so far is because I'm getting ready to go. And my little book bag where my laptop goes. I take my laptop home with me and bring it to work with me.